Now we've got, the Sumner Road reopening project. They were due here at 12:30, and I'm sorry that I didn't stop at 12:30, but I forgot. But we're now up to you, so pretty good. Item 43. On the supplementary agenda. Where is it? There. Do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, this paper is a follow-on from the council meeting a couple of weeks ago, where the award of the contract for the 3B works on the Sumner corridor was considered and resolved by council. As a result of those discussions, councillors requested that we give a bit of a briefing about what the works entailed and some of the background to the work done so far. So we have members of the technical team here to do that briefly and answer any questions. I guess in passing, it's worth noting that this is obviously a very significant project for council. It's been some years to get to this point, and I would like to acknowledge the collaboration with NZ Transport Agency as part of this project. It is a jointly funded project under the rebuild, under the cost share agreement with NZTA. They're putting 83% of the funding into this project, but more than that, they have contributed a lot of technical assistance on the way with geotechnical assistance, etc. They've been part of the tender evaluation panel, so it's been a good example of a joint approach to this issue on the Sumner corridor. So that's the background. Members of the team, it's quite a large team, as you can see, have come here today, and they've been working on this for some years. Hopefully we've got all the technical expertise to answer any questions you may have, but I'd like to hand over to Lynn. Lynn has been running this project as a project manager for council now for several years, and this is an important milestone, so I think over to Lynn to just give you a quick brief background with her team and refer to a few items on the map that's been passed around.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for your time this morning, people. Really appreciate you putting us onto your agenda. So I'm Lynn Armitage, Project Manager for Sumner Reopening Project. Beside me we've got Mike Moran. He's one of the Principals Advisors team who have developed the original concept design into a preliminary design, and now we're moving into a working design phase. And next to him, Charlie Watts, also part of the Principals Advisory team. So these Geotech people have advanced the original concept design that you all will have heard about a couple of years ago into a neat, compact design solution, and now we've all worked together through an interactive tender process to advance that design further, ready to move into the detailed design phase now. So this presentation just gives you an overview of how we've moved along from that concept design into what's going to be a working design solution for Sumner Road. So I'll hand over to the Geotech team. Get started.
Thanks, Lynn. So this has been a collaboration really from a consultant point of view between Golder Associates and Jacobs, both geotechnical specialist firms. So if I may start, is this image clear to and visible to all of you?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Oh, the lights are dimmed. It's good. We can dim the lights. It'll be a lot more intimate then.
This image shows the sort of key areas of Sumner Road 3B as it's referred to. The little red lines show the end points of the project area, being Evans Pass and a point just west of two gullies above the coal loadout facility, which is visible at the bottom of the image. So Sumner Road is clearly marked. The key sort of geotechnical issues are around the bluffs area, which is marked there. It's a very steep cliff slope, about 100 metres high, and two gullies to the west of that, which have directed some rockfall, which I'll show you shortly. The other key element in this image is the quarry, Gollons Bay Quarry, on the right-hand side of the image. So as I'm sure all aware, during the Canterbury earthquake sequence, there were a number of large earthquakes that generated rockfall, fairly profound rockfall on this section of road, and led to the closing of the road. Significant damage was done to various features of the road, but also highlighted the risk to road users if the road were reopened. So this is a closer view of the bluffs themselves. As I said, about 100 metres high. They're fairly substantial. Perhaps you can see on this image a few places where there are scars from where parts of the slope have fallen during those earthquakes and fallen onto the road. So I'm just highlighting the hazard, if you like. The bluffs area itself also generated by far the majority of the several thousand cubic metres of rock that fell from the site onto the road. So this area represents the major hazard, if you like. So the concept design that I think you'll be familiar with involved principally cutting back those bluffs in a number of benches, and the objective was to lay the slope back so that it was no longer so steep, and to try and remove all the potential rockfall source material from that area. In the order of 1 million cubic metres of excavation was proposed for that area as part of the solution. And in addition to achieve that excavation, haul roads would be required in the area of the dashed lines on the right-hand side of the image to take that material to the quarry. So those would be fairly substantial haul roads to carry large equipment. In addition, 2 reinforced earth rockfall bunds were proposed in the 2 gullies to the west of the bluffs to prevent further rockfall that may occur from the bluffs from impacting on the road. So over the course of the preliminary design phase and the contractor involvement phase of this project, various changes have occurred to the design. The design's been streamlined, as Lynn said. The proposal is to create a catch bench rather than removing the large amount of rock from the bluffs. A similar effect can be gained by constructing a substantial rockfall catch bench at the base of the cliffs. This is in the order of 15 metres wide and would look a bit like a road crossing the slope. The amount of earthworks, if you like, involved with that will reduce from in the order of 1 million cubic metres, as I said before, down to something like 90,000 cubic metres. So that's a substantial change in earthworks volume. The haul roads that were proposed as part of that solution would no longer be needed, and Sumner Road can be utilised as a haul road for that for removal of the material needed to create the bench. Some scaling has been carried out, some removal, if you like, of potential rockfall source material from what's referred to as Area G, the western gully on that image, and that work has been carried out and has meant that a bund is no longer required in that western gully. A bund is still required in the eastern gully, Area F, on that figure. to prevent any rockfall material that might come from the bluffs at the head of that gully from affecting Sumner Road. The construction methodology for this it basically follows what we call a top-down construction method, where all construction works start at the top of the slope and remove or deal with any hazard as work progresses down the slope. So the catch bench cannot be constructed until the slope above has been made safe, as it were, to allow construction work to carry on that bench. In addition, there are 2 areas of planting that are proposed as part of this works in and around around Sumner Road, above and below Sumner Road, in the area of the 2 gullies. So that summarises the change, if you like, of the design or progression from the concept design through to the current state of design. So we'd be welcome to have any questions.
Any questions? Yanni?
The visual amenity of it, the visual impact. Do you have anything that kind of shows?
Well, I guess the short answer is clearly we're going from 7 benches affecting the whole of that bluffs area to 1 bench at the base of the bluffs. So visually there's going to be a fairly substantial change between those 2. In addition, I suppose it's partly represented by a reduction from 1 million cubic metres of removal of rock down to 90,000 or thereabouts.
And just, I presume in terms of the level of safety and level of risk, that you've talked to the fuel companies and the port, and I mean, I know previously we were told that they had real concerns about the resilience of this corridor, and it would just be good to know kind of what their view is of what's been proposed.
We've had an ongoing working relationship with LPC as part of our project team, taking them, through the design. As we've progressed, they're comfortable with the direction that we've headed in. It gives probably more resilience in some ways than the previous concept, giving us a wider catch zone down by the road, easier to maintain. We've got a very strict level of service requirement for the road. In the case of a design trigger event where there's rockfall, the road has to be fully functional and reopened within 3 working days. So we've worked closely with those stakeholders.
And what about the fuel companies? Because they were the other ones.
As part of the LPC have connected that relationship through. Yep.
Paul and Phil and Andrew.
Just on the visual amenity part, because obviously that's going to concern a number of people, I would have thought. Would it be fair to say that obviously the scaling and benching and so forth initially is going to create quite a visual change, but over time that those changes will soften, and with the colour of the scaling back would actually change and become more I suppose normal or natural to its natural surroundings.
A good example of it is you look at photographs of the site immediately after the quake. The bluffs looked quite grey and brown. You look at them now and they actually look quite green. So in the period of 5 years, even with ongoing rockfall, those sites revegetate. And another example of that would be along Woodford Avenue. If you remember what that bluff system looked like after the quake, it was brown and grey and scarred. You look now, it's actually very green.
And,
it just naturalises itself.
Yeah, we saw some shots in behind the containers along that Peacock Scott Park.
That's right, all the cone flowers.
Yeah, that's right, all the flowers come up. So
So this will revegetate. Part of the landscape development plans, we've got some planting areas planned, is some screening planting associated with the view of the Hall Road, which is the bench, crawling along, and that is covered in the landscape plan.
So some of that vegetation also assists with some of the rockfall?
In the gullies it does, it gives us a tertiary protection. It takes a long time to become effective, but it is very helpful, and it's obviously a good conservation offset for the flora and fauna.
Thank you.
Yep, Phil?
So, thank you. It's a really good report and helps us get our head around the huge project. So I just wondered in practice if you could give us a steer on, I think, on the amount of material being removed, because I think I heard you say something like 1 million cubic metres of rock. So, like, could you put that into big truckloads just so we can sort of get a picture? Or is that? It just seems an enormous amount of rock.
I think
It is an enormous amount of rock.
I think it was, just don't quote me, and I could come back with a fact of
That's
interest for you, but when we originally considered moving 1 million cubic metres of material, I think that calculated to be something like 36,000 20-foot shipping containers of material. Don't quote me because I'm not sure I've remembered correctly, but it's something like that. It's a massive amount of material.
I can see the engineer at the other end working.
Yeah, he's calculating. I don't dare get out my phone and calculate because I call myself.
Pretty sure that's
Tens
how
of
Peter
thousands.
Davey thought of it.
Yeah.
Tens of
Sorry.
thousands of truckloads.
Yeah, it's really a lot, and I will dig that out as a little fact and put it back on the website. But it's something like that. We tried to describe it as shipping containers of material because, as you know, we have a lot of shipping containers for you to look at and compare that to.
Thank you.
Yep.
Andrew.
Thank you. Two questions, one on timing and the other on visual amenity. Clause 3.8 on page 28. The works within this contract are expected to take 20 months and be completed in early 2018. What does that mean for the opening of the road?
We would, at this stage, we're expecting to be able to reopen the road in early 18. We're planning to advance the roading repair in parallel with this geotech work.
That's excellent news. Thank you for that. And then coming back, really following on from Councillor Lonsdale's questions on visual amenity, and I'm aware that there have been some concerns expressed, particularly by residents on the opposite side of the harbour, so at Diamond Harbour and at Puro, around the effect on their visual amenity when they look over the water, particularly looking at clauses 3.3 and 3.6, referring to 90,000 square metres of in situ spoil and the size of the bund, for example. You talked about planting earlier. Are they the areas where that planting is expected to occur to mitigate the visual effect of those man-made structures or results?
There is some planting planned around the bund, which is described in there. Those landscape plans, as they develop, we'd be really happy to come and share those with community boards and councillors so that you get a better feel for it yourselves. But yes, there is planting planned around the bund, and again, there's a screening for the bench as well. There is some planting planned.
Yeah, I think community engagement around that would be great, whether with the community board or the wider community, purely because, I know that there are some concerns around it, and it may well be that what's proposed will set aside some of those concerns.
Just talking about the planting, we're working closely with DOC on biosourced seed and the like, the plant species that are there. The ecologists have been out to survey the zones, to make sure that we get the right sorts of plants from a conservation perspective, but working with the geotech team as well to make sure that we plant the most suitable plant to give us that additional rockfall protection as well. So it's a combined, cohesive effort onto the landscaping.
Yeah, but to take the community along with you on that too is quite important. We found that at Spencerville, when they had to have new trees planted in one of the streets, and we had a meeting with the residents, and even giving them options of trees to choose within a certain choice, it just empowers them to have some ownership over it. So, if you can, because
we could do that through our e-news vehicle, the Sumner Littleton corridor, and have a drop-in for planting.
Now, I should do a cross-ward motion, so Paul Lonsdale moves, Andrew Turner second.
Grace, just one other question,
Yep.
just very quickly. I was just thinking of cyclists. So is there anything done to improve cyclist safety along the stretch at the same time as the work's going on?
We're returning to the pre-quake level of service, which is a 2-lane route. Just by the nature of the works, the road will be, I don't want to use the word better, but I'd say probably slightly improved from a surface perspective, new curb and channel and the like guardrails. So we're not adding more in terms of adding a cycle lane, but the road itself will be new, improved by the nature of the fact that it's just been replaced.
I mean, it just occurred to me, I just remember that there was a lot of cyclists that used to come around the Littleton through to Sumner, and we have had a lot of complaints around cyclist safety around the porthills and the roads. So I just wondered if there was anything that we could do to just, yeah.
Well, it was known as the Long Bay Circuit,
It was, yeah, so
but
there's, I mean,
It'll be better than it ever was,
right,
that's all I can
but the
say.
width will be the same.
It will be, that's
But
the,
there is no room to make
no,
the
there
road
isn't.
bigger.
And that's also the requirement of the NZTA funding that we're returning to our pre-quake. But there literally isn't space, as you know, half the lane.
Yeah,
One whole lane's gone.
that's the trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no room. There's just literally, you've got the shoulder over the lip and the all
keep-
downhill from there.
and keep in mind, you know, like from Governor's Bay to Littleton, from Kashmir to Governor's Bay, the roads like that give you pass. Yeah,
We'll never get another time to do it.
yeah.
Very good. All right, so I've got a mover and a seconder, so I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. Now I'm going to offer